Okay, we're here in part two of the series talking about how to apply what we do in a cage or in a bullpen situation or in a lesson over into a game situation. The first part, we talked about how the body adjusts to new mechanics, trying to make it instinctive to do it without thinking about it. And obviously that's a tough answer that a lot of parents don't like to hear it's practice. It's more reps. Um, it's more practice getting the reps in to let the body be able to do that without thinking about it. The second part is a little more applied, gets a little more interesting. The body, when you get into a game situation, the body goes into sometimes what's called a fight or flight syndrome. It's very common when there's pressure applied to a player. They feel tension, anxiety. A lot of times, mostly at the younger levels, this happens a lot more often, but even at the older levels, it happens a lot as well. The body doesn't know how to react to pressure, and you get this fight or flight syndrome, which means you either step up into it where you battle the pressure, or you get almost like in a scared situation where you just want to leave the situation. And the body kind of goes into, I see this all the time with players, the body tries different ways to handle the pressure, whether you're talking about hitting or pitching or things like that. So we're going to talk about the two extremes on that level. The body has a certain level that it performs best at. Um, and the key to being a good baseball player is finding that level of where to play. A lot of people think you play as hard as you can, you go as hard as you can, and that's going to get you the best results, but that's not often the case in baseball. More skill sports like golf, tennis, baseball are very much less emotion oriented, to where you have to almost be in a calm, relaxed state in order to perform at your best. Um, so we're going to talk about the two extremes first of all, and this is what I see in a lot of players. The first of all we're going to see is the fear of failure approach. You'll see this a lot of times with hitters as they swing. I'll have guys in a lesson with me just killing the ball. They'll go out to a game, and they're much more passive at the plate. They take a much slower swing. And a lot of times, most of the times, this is due to a player trying not to miss the ball. I use this expression all the time in lessons where a player will not try to hit the ball, but they're just trying not to miss. They're worried about striking out. They're worried about what it's going to look like in front of other players if they strike out, and that's their biggest fear when they hit, is they just want to make sure they hit the ball. And as a result, they change their swing, they slow their swing down, they try to hit the ball out. They start their swing way early to try to make sure they hit it, and that's how that applies to hitting. The same thing applies to pitching as well. You'll see pitchers that will let the ball go loose in a lesson or in a bullpen. They get out on the mound, their speed's a lot slower. They look like they're aiming the ball, and many times they are. They're just trying to throw strikes. They're not confident in their mechanics yet. They're just trying to get the ball across the plate. Now, a way I compare this to a lot of times, especially to adults, is you a lot of times see the halftime entertainment at the Super Bowl or different big college football games where they have you come out and throw the football through the hole for $1 million or whatever. And what you'll see is if you're out throwing a football around and you're pretty confident in your ability to throw it, you'll throw it a certain way, and you'll throw it a lot harder, and you'll not be worried about if you can throw it to the person you're throwing to. But if someone offers you $1 million, okay, to throw it through a hole, most of these adults are going to change their mechanics. They're going to slow down, try to almost aim the ball, try to make sure they put it through that hole. Okay. Now $1 million obviously doesn't apply to the baseball player, but the simulated pressure of a game situation sometimes does. It's almost, to a young athlete being in front of fans, or playing another team, or in front of parents or people that you're not used to, simulates that same response out of the player. So that's kind of from the lower end side of things. You'll see that from an athlete. Now the opposite side of that would be a player that goes over the limit. They try to push too hard. You'll see guys that are constantly trying to swing as hard as they can, head flying off. They'll be trying to throw every pitch as hard as they can. I've had a pitcher tell me one time, I said, "What are your thoughts on the first pitch to a hitter?" And he said, I'm trying to strike him out." Well, you can't strike a guy out on the first pitch. And you can't go up there with the constant approach that you're going to blow every fastball by a hitter. Now, obviously, that will happen to some cases, but those are very extreme. Okay, so a lot of times when guys try too hard, okay, and that's one reason I never say swing hard. I always emphasize swinging fast. A lot of times, guys' perception of playing at 100% is too high. Okay, and what I mean by that is instead of taking what they know and speeding it up or doing it more confidently, they try to go beyond that, and their muscles tense up. They go overboard with it. Now, another example I like to use of this is for adults, is so you guys can understand. It's for those that play golf. I have a lot of adults that play golf, and even if you don't, you'll kind of understand this analogy. So, if I'm playing golf and my partner that I'm playing with is there next to me, and I'm getting ready to tee off on a ball, and he's sitting there constantly yelling at me, "Hey, swing as hard as you can, swing as hard as you can. Come on, hit it hard, hit it hard." Odds are I'm going to slice the ball into the woods, lose distance on the ball, I'm going to lose my accuracy, and I'm not going to hit that ball as hard as I can and as well as I can. Okay, and it's that same analogy that a lot of players take when they hear players or coaches trying to tell them to swing hard or go overboard. Now, a big example I do of this in lessons is I'll tell kids to swing at 50%, okay, 60%, 70%, all the way up to 100%. 99% of the time, when I tell guys to swing half speed or 60 to 70%, they hit the ball harder than they do at 100%. And one reason that is because when they slow down, okay, or they perceive slowing down, their muscles relax and they actually increase their bat speed. They're more confident in what they do. They're not trying to do too much. They stay within themselves. Another example a lot of times is when you see players, especially at the older level, especially I saw it a lot as a pro player, is when guys are hurt or if they're sick. Many times players will play a very good game because they're not trying to do too much. They're just trying to stay within themselves and do what they can. And the problem with this, excuse me, is trying to teach players at what level to stay in. Okay. A lot of times if a player is performing well in a lesson, you'll see them try to go above and beyond that in a game. And the hard part of that is trying to teach them that they don't have to. Okay, if I'm throwing batting practice and they're smoking the ball, and they don't have to swing harder than that in a game situation. You know, if they're throwing well with me and throwing hard off the mound and hitting their spots, that's all they have to do once they go to a game. They don't have to try harder than that, and they don't have to try to make sure they just throw strikes. So hopefully this gives you some insight to what's going on with a player's body as they try to apply lessons and bullpens and batting practice to a game situation. And it'll help as a coach and a player or a parent. It'll help the players to understand if you can ask them what level they're performing at. Okay, because a lot of times you'll see them when they're playing well, it's effortless, and you can really tell when they try to overdo it or do too much. And many times it happens after a mistake. If a guy has a bad at bat or he throws a couple of bad pitches, you'll see him tense up, amp up, try to do more to make up for that, and you can't do that in baseball. Baseball is a not emotional sport like football where you can just get angry and help yourself with what you're trying to do. So it's a calm, relaxed game, and learning what level you need to play at to maximize your performance. So hopefully this helps out. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Hopefully this will open up a little discussion to how you can help out your players or your kids to perform the best they can.